Okay, this is already 4 o'clock, and as per our schedule, we are going to start the session. There are approximately 570 participants have been registered for the course, but the participants, those who are joining the interactive session, that is through Google Meet, is around 50 to 70. It depends upon the internet connectivity at the end of participant, and rest of the participants may join within 5 to 10 minutes, but we shall start because a recorded version of this lecture will be made available through YouTube channel. So we will not wait for any other person. Dear friends, I am very happy to welcome today's speaker, Mandar Zaki sir. It is the 7th day of this national workshop on research methodologies in geography. And today, Mandar Zaki is going to deliver his deliberations on research hypothesis, formulation, testing, and generalization. Being the organizing secretary, I would like to introduce Mandar Zaki sir. Today, introduction of the speaker has not assigned to any other contributor, because I thought that this wonderful opportunity, I should not miss this wonderful opportunity to introduce today's speaker, Mandar Zaki sir. Mandar Zaki has completed his MA in geography, has cleared SET examination, and also recently he has submitted his thesis, PhD, for the award of PhD degree under the University of Mumbai. He has been awarded MPhil degree in public finance. He has very much expertise in the area of research. I am observing, being my colleague, I am observing that he has been teaching research methodology for more than 13 years. And this is the wonderful opportunity. I thought that he should convey and he should deliver a lecture considering his expertise. It will be a wonderful opportunity to listen research hypothesis, then methods of formulation of hypothesis, methods of testing hypothesis, and what can be the generalizations made. On behalf of organizing committee, all the collaborating institutions, and all the participants, Zaki sir, I welcome you on this virtual platform, and I hope that, I'm sure, not hope, I'm sure that you will enlighten all the participants concerning research hypothesis and other related matters. Once again, welcome to you, and I request you to kindly start the session. Over to Zaki sir, please.
Thank you for your kind words, Dr. Patil sir. Again, I would like to thank all the organizers, organizing institutions, and dear participants. I would like to, in the flow of talking, Patil sir said that I have completed my MA in geography. but
In
I would like to correct it.
in economics.
Yeah,
In economics.
I am having the background of economics. I am not the man of geography actually. Phil in public finance, that is a sub branch of economics. Okay, good evening, all of you.
Sir, will you please share the screen or else?
Yeah, I will,
please,
I'm sharing.
please.
Just a minute. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Very
Yeah.
much visible. Very much visible.
Yeah. The topic for today's session is assigned to me. The topic is identification of problem and hypothesis. In this topic, I'm supposed to start with the identification of problem, how to identify a research problem, and how to deduct the problem or transform that problem into hypothesis, and then again how to form a precise hypothesis and test it. Initially, I would like to talk that it is not possible to show all the tests here, but I will try to give you as much as possible the concept of testing, and at the end we will talk about, or we will think about, how to generalize the conclusions derived from the hypothesis testing. So we'll start with the problem identification. I think you may be aware that what is a research problem actually. This is the 7th session, as Patil sir said. So earlier 5 sessions might have covered on the research topic and so on. But as I have to start from the hypothesis testing, or I have to concentrate upon the hypothesis testing, I thought I need to start or discuss a little bit about the problem identification, because the process of hypothesis formulation start from your formulation of your problem. The hypothesis which you test and derive the conclusions, those hypotheses are directly deducted from the research problem you define. So I thought it is better at initial stage, it is better I should discuss the problem of identification. Okay, so what is the research problem actually? We all know that we are in our daily life as well as our professional life. Many of the participants are students. Most of them are students of MA Geography. So in your student life, that can be considered as your professional life, and your day-to-day life, your personal life, you may be having or facing problems in your day-to-day life area and your study area also. You may be facing problem, you may be encountering some questions, and for many of them, you may be trying to find out the solutions. Some of the questions which we encountered in our daily life as well as professional life, those questions can be specified or found with the answers of those questions from nowadays, from internet or through books, and so much material is available. So many of the problems are answered from those reading material or material available outside your study or your daily life. So but some peculiar problems are there which remains unanswered, and someone has to try to answer those questions. Someone have to start the journey to finding the answer of those questions. When such a problem encounters in your professional life as a student, and when you try to find out the answer for such a problem by systematic way, such problem can be called as research problem. The system, as I mentioned, the systematic way of finding out answer to a problem, to a peculiar problem, can be called as a research. That process is called as a research. And that the problem which you are studying or you are trying to resolve, that problem can be called as a research problem. While discussing the concept of research problem, we must know that the topic for your research which you want to define as your research problem should be your, you need to like that topic, or that topic must be from your liking area. So when you consider a topic from your liking area, automatically you can easily follow up that topic or pursue that topic, and you try to address, investigate and study that topic. The topic or the problem which you encounter or you think you need to find out the answer, you yourself need to find out the answer. That topic which you address or try to investigate or study, that topic is called as research problem. Okay, the research problem can be a specific issue outside, can be a particular difficulty you are encountering in your professional life as well as daily life. Okay, research, we must aware that the research problem can be also from daily life. Okay, it is not necessary that research problem should be from the academic, the area of academics. Not necessary. From your daily life, you can find out a single problem that can be rewarded as in future a good research problem. So any issue, any difficulty, any contradiction which you encounter in your life, in your professional life, or any gap you find in the body of the knowledge while studying, as you are studying geography, while reading the books, while reading the research articles, or anyhow while taking the or pursuing the knowledge in the field of geography, you may find a gap in the knowledge. You may find that the gap should be fulfilled. This must be gap, or this must be fulfilled. That gap can be also turn into your good research problem. It may be the research problem can be a practical problem as well as a theoretical problem. Okay, research problem can be a practical problem from your professional life, or a theory or theoretical problem. Sometimes what happens, the theories which you try to study or try to mug up, those theories, when you are try to mug up those theories, or you try to understand those theories from the bottom of your heart, sometimes you may feel that those theories had some lacunas. Okay, those established theories have some minor or major lacunas. If you try to fulfill that lacuna, you may be getting a good orientation of the research process. So that problem can be in the form of theoretical problem, as well as in your professional daily life or practical life. You may encounter with the practical problems. Being a student of geography, you may encounter the problems of maybe in the field of human geography, or maybe in the field of land geography, or maybe in the field of in your area, some practical problem related to geographical aspect of your life or practical life or professional life. Those problem also can be your research problem. So research problem can be a practical problem, can be turned into research problem, or a theoretical lacuna which you think to feel it up necessary or sort out necessary. That theoretical problem also can be turned out as a research problem. Research problem, now you may be understood that research problem is a interrogative sentence. Interrogative sentence which need interrogation. Okay. And that interrogative sentence seeking for the relation between two or more variables. That is important. What happens at the initial stage of our research as a student, being a student, everyone goes through this peculiar situation. As being a student of research, at initial stage, we are having very less idea of about the research topic, how to formulate research problem and how to formulate research topics. And in that case, it becomes very difficult task for us to find out a broad research topic. It becomes many times a very difficult task for the students at initial stage. Once you become seasoned in that area, you can easily point out so many topics for research, for further research. But at initial stage, you may find very difficult to find out a research problem. And when you go to your research guide, when your research guide says to you to come with 2 or 3 topics for the pursuit or for the pursuit of research in near future, or for as your PhD title or MPhil title or your project title, when your research guide says like that, you go with some topics or broad topics. Your guide reject those topics. You find that the guide is rejecting the topics, and repeatedly that happens. Guide repeatedly goes on rejecting, and you get into puzzled. Many guides are so kind enough to clear the idea of the research problem, but in some cases it happens. That's why I'm mentioning it. Why it happens? Because the research topic which you are defining as a research problem, that topic must be or that sentence which you are going to define as a research problem, that sentence need to interrogate or verify relation between 2 or more variables. So initial stage, you need to find out the variables in your broad topic, and then try to seek for a relation between those variables, and then you try to establish a sentence or point out a sentence seeking that relationship. If you pen down or write down the sentences with the seeking relationship between variables, in that case your research guide will not be in position to reject your hypothesis. Okay, so research problems. So initially you must aware that you need to formulate a sentence which is establishing or trying to establish a relation between 2 or more variables. Okay, in the course of lecture we will see what is variable. Okay, but at the outset you must be know that in the research topic it is better to find 2 or 3 or more variables and try to find out or try to seek that the relation between those variables. And in that case, if you establish a sentence seeking the relationship between variables, that will be considered as a research problem for you. We can say that typically a topic or phenomena or challenge that you are interested in, that is most important thing, and that is with which you are at least somewhat familiar. The topic or phenomena or a challenge that where you are trying to resolve the puzzle, or trying to find out the answer for that challenge or that question or that problem or that phenomena, that must be of your interest. So topic must be of your interest. If that is not of your interest, or that is thrown towards you by someone else, in that case you will not be able to make proper follow-up of the events and the research process, and you will not be able to finish that process. So interest is most important. And another thing is that that topic must be somewhat familiar for you. You must be familiar with that topic. If you will be familiar with that topic, so you will know the background of that research problem. And once you know the background, you may you will know to where to head towards, or where to go towards, or what direction you should take as a researcher of that peculiar problem. So while considering a particular topic as your research topic, you should initially you should apply two criteria. There are so many criteria, but initially you must apply two criteria to define your research problem. First is your interest. That must be related to your interest. That is so much important. And second thing is that you must be familiar with that, with the at least overall concepts. In depth concept you can read afterwards, but at least to get the overall idea, initial idea, you must be familiar with that particular topic. So at initial stage, you should apply these two tests: your interest and your familiarity with the topic. If those two tests gets fulfilled, the topic is of your interest and you are a little bit familiar with it, in that case you can go further for your research, and you can consider that problem as a research problem. Okay, so we'll move further. Where do you find out a problem or phenomena to study? Where do you find out the topics of your research or topic or your interest? When you are as a student, being a student of research, as we all are, we must be always in a search of a research problem. We can find out research problem from so many sources. There are many and more sources are there nowadays. When there is a burst of information, we know that the information is available everywhere in so many forms. In such an era where we are living, in that case the sources are not limited. Okay, sources are for anything. Sources for anything or everything are not limited. There are innumerable or unlimited sources are available to pursue your research. But we can mention some of those, some of the sources for your research where you can find out your research problem. We can mention it here. Most of the important thing is that your experiences can be your important guide in the field of or on the path of research. Your day-to-day or professional or personal life experiences, what you experiences, always you, as you are being a student of that particular field, you are always taking notice of those experiences. And as you are noticing those experiences can turn into your research problem. In your professional life, while studying a specific branch of a particular subject, in your case that is geography, as you are following a specific branch of geography, you may be having different kind of experiences while reading, as well as while attending the lectures, as well as while searching the materials on the internet. You may be having knowledge, experiences, and so many things you may be having. Those experiences and knowledge can turn as your research problem. Wherever you feel that there is a gap or there is a question, and you feel that yet that question is not answered, it has remained unanswered yet, or that question is not answered yet, or the knowledge gap is not yet fulfilled, in that case, that can be your research problem. So in your professional life as well as personal life, whenever you feel that there is a particular knowledge gap, I am not getting a knowledge on that particular thing or particular topic or subtopic, or there is a questions are arising in my mind while reading the material, and those questions are, whenever I search, I don't find answers for those questions. In those cases, you can turn those cases or those questions or knowledge gaps into your research problems. Okay. Second thing, critical appraisal of literature. As being a student of a particular specific branch of a geography, as you are a student of a specific branch of a geography, being a geography student, as you are following a specific branch, suppose I don't know about so much about the geography, but suppose you are following human geography as your specific study branch, and in that case, you should go for vast critical appraisal of literature available in your that particular field. The literature available, that may be theoretical literature, research literature available in the form of research papers in the journals, or research books based on the research, different research area in your field. You should go for the reading that literature. If you try to read that literature, or if you try to make critically appraisal of that literature, or you try to criticize, you try to read out that literature from the point of critical angle, you will find so many knowledge gaps as well as conflicting findings in that research. In that case, I would like to suggest to you that you should read the research papers available in the particular area of your study, a particular the particular paper which you are studying for your MA or MSc level. At your MA or MSc level, you should go for the recent research papers published in the good journals. So many journals are there. Your professor might have told you the names of the journals. So you should go for those research journals and go for the find out some research, recent research articles published in those journals. And by picking those journals, you should try to critically read those articles. If you read those articles critically, sometimes you will find some gaps in those articles. You will find some conflicting findings, conflicting ideas in those articles. Those conflicting ideas, those you think those ideas are conflicting, or there is a knowledge gap in that particular research paper or that book, in that case, you can discuss that concept with your teachers, or with your colleague, or with a person who has a knowledge of that field. That can give you clear idea and can turn into a good research problem. So critical appraisal, the thing is that you should read that article from the critical point of view. You need to read that article from the critical point of view. Once you read it from that critical point of view, you can be easily find out the knowledge gap and conflicting findings. And after discussing those things with your professional colleagues, or a person who have a good depth of knowledge in that area, that can give you a very good research topic for your research. Then again, issues around you, so many issues around you can attract you as a research problem. Those issues can be turned as a research problem for you. But while selecting issues around you as your research problem, you should be need to be little bit careful. I think as issues, the social, geographical, environmental, economics related issues which are happening around us day by day, or often happenings around us often. Those issues have a vast and complicated background, or complicated structures. So while selecting issues around us can be a research problem for us, that is sure. But while selecting the research problem based on the issues around us, we should be careful, as those issues have a very complicated background. So while selecting the issues, you should again discuss those issues with many knowledgeable peoples around you, your professors, or your knowledgeable colleagues, or people in that particular area where you find the issues, so that you will be able to know the exact background of that issue, exact complications of that issue, and then you will be able to decide whether that will be a research problem or not. So issues around you, or problems, social, environmental, geographical, any kind of problem can be your research problem for your study. Again, brainstorming, you can make a brainstorming with the people in that particular area where you are following your studies. Okay, that brainstorming can bring out some novel ideas, different new ideas, and those can be provide you the fuel for your research. That can happen. Again, discussion with practitioners. I will not go into details all these points. You can discuss the in a particular area of field where you are following your studies. In that area of field, you may be having the knowledge of theory on that field, but practical background maybe you may be kept or kept distanced from the practicability of that particular study area. In that case, the practitioners who those are following the practice of that particular field, you can discuss the you can be having the discussion with those practitioners, and that discussion can be fruitful for you in sense of the research problem. So that discussions also can give you a research problem and ultimately lead you towards research hypothesis. Okay, so these are the some of the sources where you can find out your research problem. These are not the limited ones, so many are theirs, but I would like to keep my explanation up to limited up to these points only. So you can find out your research problems with these from these various sources. But I would like to one little bit make advice upon that. Whenever you are finding out, or whenever you are thinking that a particular problem is your research problem, don't forget to discuss that problem with your professors or teachers, or the person who has a good knowledge or good experience in that particular field where your research problem belongs. That will be advice for you, as because defining the research problem is initial stage or first stage of a research process. In that first stage, if you will not be able to, suppose if you will not define your problem properly, in that case, in future you may be having many and more problems to finish your research. So it is better to have a discussion with our teachers, because teachers have a experience and knowledge of that particular field of area. Again, you should discuss that again outside people who are having the knowledge. Those are the practitioners, or those are the knowledgeable people who are working on in that particular field for so many years or so many time. So after discussing that only, you should final your research problem. Okay. while identifying the problem, we should follow the certain procedure. Okay. For first, in the first step, you should identify the broad problem area. You need to identify the broad problem area. In case of your as you are a geography student, in geography there are many and more sub branches of geography are there. You can go into those branches, details of those branches, and one of the branches or a sub branch or a topic of that branch can be a broad problem area for you, can be a broad problem research area for you. Okay, for example, energy conservation, okay, can be a broad problem area for you. Or problem of deforestation can be a broad problem area for you as a research problem. Okay, so initially, at an initial stage, at first step, as a research students, we should, we are following the research procedure. At a first stage, we must identify a broad problem area of our research. Okay, after that, at second stage, you need to learn more about the problem, and for that purpose, you need to undertake literature review. I think there was one session was there during this workshop that is conducted already on review of literature. So you should go for review of literature in second stage. Once you have identified the broad area of your research, for example, energy conservation, that may be your research broad area. In that broad area, you should in the next stage you should try to know more about it. For that purpose, you should go for literature available on the topic in various sources. Literature available on internet, literature available in the books from your libraries, and so on, and journals, articles, so many things. So whatever literature is available for you on that particular topic, you should go for that. You should review that literature critically, and after doing that, once you are kind comfortable with that research area, as you have gathered enough knowledge about the present scenario in that particular topic, particular broad area, as you are comfortable, if you are and your research supervisor is very much comfortable about your knowledge you have gathered in that topic, once you are comfortable with that, you should go for the for third stage, that is narrow down or clarify your problem focus. You have to narrow down your topic. As a broad, you have chosen the broad topic, a particular broad topic, for example, energy conservation, for example, as we are considering, that topic you should narrow down, because energy conservation is a vast topic, and in that topic again, you should find out so many contradicting ideas, knowledge gaps, questions which can be researchable questions. So many things you will find out while reviewing the literature or making the review of your literature. And in that, after that, you will be able to narrow down your topic. Why to narrow down, or why to make it specific? Because human being is having so many kind of limitations. We are having so many limitations. Limitation on the ground of time availability, limitations on the ground of our psychological and emotional and knowledge related limitations are there. Our skill related limitations are there. So as far as our limitations are concerned, as a research student, our limitations are concerned, we should narrow down the topic within our limitations. Okay, so that we should be able to research that topic properly. Okay, so narrow down or clarify your problem focus is the third topic. Once that you done, you have entered in the area of hypothesis formulation. Once you have done you have defined your research problem, once you have defined it clearly, then you can go for your hypothesis formulation. Okay. While defining the research problem, we must take some precautions. We will not go into details. That research problem must be original. Okay, you should try to find out a research problem that is original research problem, because actually through a process of research we are going to add something to the body of the knowledge, and you will be able to add something to body of your knowledge only when the topic which you are researching is original. If someone has done some work on that topic, there is no any need to research that topic again or make it a replicated research. So originality is important, as through research you are creating knowledge, and by creation of knowledge you are expanding the body of the knowledge of that particular field. So originality, you must be precautious while finding out the your research problem. Then again, it must be specific. You must be able to specify or precise, that make it precise. You should be able to make the problem precise or specific. You should not be at initial stage we try to figure out a broad problem, but at the latter stage, once we are comfortable with the topic, we try to narrow down the topic, and that narrowed down topic should be specific and precise. It should be clear, it should be well defined. We need to define that topic properly. Okay. Then again, it should be well grounded in current theoretical and empirical knowledge. The topic should be well grounded in current theoretical and empirical knowledge. Okay, whatever knowledge is available in that particular area, that the topic which you are choosing must be theoretically and empirically grounded in present knowledge. Okay, because no one can make new from nothing. We cannot make anything new from nothing. Okay, it is well known said that we say that Rishi Vasishtha, there is a particular Sanskrit word is there. Vasishtha ऋषी यांनी पूर्ण जग उष्ट केले असं म्हणतात, बरोबर आहे. In that case, we are not able to create new knowledge from nothing. We are creating knowledge based on the knowledge created earlier. So creation of a knowledge is the process where we are creating new ideas based on the ideas of earlier body of the knowledge. So whatever we are trying to or thinking the topic as our research topic, that should be grounded in a theoretical as well as empirical knowledge. Okay, the criteria of empirical knowledge must be fulfilled while selecting our research topic. Again, it should be doable. Doable in the sense you must be able to follow your research in that particular topic. Okay, you must be able to do in your limitations of availability of time, availability of money, and your capacities related to your knowledge, your experiences. Again, your putting of your labors, whatever capacities you are having in that capacity, in those capacities you should formulate your problem. Okay, again, you must look after your resources. So in the limitations of all these things, time, money, capacities, and resources, that topic should be within the that frame of those things. Okay, time, money, capacities, and resources. Okay, that topic must be fall within that frame or framework. So it should be doable. It means that once you start the research on that particular topic, you should be able to finish that research within a stipulated time, available money and your capacities and available resources with you. It should not happen that you have chosen the research and research topic, and while after trying to research that topic or trying to do research on that topic, you will find that money are not enough, time is not available, our capacities are not allowing us to follow that research, resources are well limited. In that case, you have to drop down the ideas. So it is better to drop down such ideas before starting, not after the following or in the midway or halfway, after going halfway. So that must be doable. You must be able to finish that research within your available limitations, and it must be amenable to the formulation of clear hypothesis and operational definitions. Through that research topic, you must be able to formulate your clear hypothesis, and you should be able to operationalize your definitions. Okay, you need to operationalize your find out or bring down definitions for your study, your further research. So hypothesis and definitions needed for your study, you must be able to deduct those definitions from your research topics. Okay, so while formulating research topic, you must be able to take these precautions. Here are some broad topics for you. I think those topics are from the field of geography, as I'm thinking. I'm not definite sure that this topic falls into the area of geography. But I'm thinking that those are from the geography: acid rain, alternative fuel, conservation, climate change, deforestation, endangered species, energy, and so on. So there are so many topics or broad areas where you can do your research. These are the broad topics. But after defining the broad topics, you need to go for narrow downing. You need to narrow down those topics. For example, in acid rain, you should narrow down the topic as effects of an acid rain in a particular area. Okay, wherever acid rain had happened, that area you can put it here. Okay, so it is said as narrowing down the topic. Okay, acid rain is a broad topic, very vast topic. Okay, you have narrowed down to only to its effect of acid rain in a particular area, so that it will become researchable for you. Okay, again, alternative fuel is again another broad topic. In that broad topic, you can go for potential of tide or wind energy at a particular place. Okay, you can go for potential for tide energy at a particular seashore, or potential of wind energy at a particular destination. You can go narrow down like that. Again, conservation is a broad topics. In that broad topic, after making the proper literature review, you can narrow down it like impact assessment study of a soil conservation project at a particular village or particular city at a particular tehsil, likewise. So it can become researchable. Okay, again, climate change is there, deforestation is there, endangered species are there, energy is there. So many topics are there. Those can be broad topics. Those can be broad topics from the field of geography for you, for your research. Okay, but these are the broad topics. You have to narrow down those topics for your particular research, for your particular to follow the particular research process. Once you narrow down, this narrowed down topic can become title of your thesis, or title of your project, or title of your research paper to publish in a particular journal. So once you find out broad topics, you must be narrowed down like this. Energy can be narrowed down like studies of the impact of federal government or any particular government, funding of solar technologies and programs for a particular period of time. Okay, so many topics are there. You can do it, and you can use those topics as your research problem. Okay, in the field of research, the hypothesis is a central idea. Okay, once you have narrowed down your topic, after doing a rigorous review of research, available research or available literature, once you have narrowed down your topic, and after narrowing down your topic, again you should go for the understanding of that narrowed topic in from all aspect available from all available aspect, and after narrowing down, you should go for formulating the hypothesis. Okay, once you have narrowed down your topic like this one, as earlier we have seen, once you have narrowed down your topic in this way, after finishing that your title is now ready. Title of your research thesis, or title of your project, or title of your research paper is ready. Once that title of research paper is ready, or thesis is ready, you should go for formulating the objectives of your research. Okay, once those objectives are defined, you should go for formulation of hypothesis. Okay, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is the central idea of the research, any research. It may be the research in the field of humanities, or it may be the research in the field of natural sciences or social sciences, okay, or languages. Hypothesis is the central idea of the research. Hypothesis is a particular statement. We can say that hypothesis is a particular focus, okay, which directs you towards research process. Okay, hypothesis is a particular we can say hypothesis is a particular light generating point, we can say, which enlighten our research path. Hypothesis, once you formulated hypothesis in the right manner, your research is half done. If you have formulated research hypothesis in a proper manner, you have completed your half journey of your research. So we will see how the hypothesis can be formulated in right manner, and again those how those hypotheses can be tested, and how we can go for generalization. Okay, what is hypothesis? Hypothesis is a statement of expectation or prediction that will tested by research. Okay, what is a research problem? We have already seen. Okay, research problem which is based on your interest as well as your prima facie knowledge of that particular field. Okay, so as you are having some prima facie knowledge, or some of the background knowledge of that topic, you may be having some prediction or expectation about a particular the topic which you have selected, okay, which you have narrowed down. Okay, as in case of suppose effects of an acid rain in a dot area. Okay, in this topic, as you know the acid rain, you are from the field of geography, you are knowing what is acid rain, how it affects to the people and nature. You know all the things. As you know, you are having those idea, you can predict the result of that particular rain at a particular place. Okay, that your prediction can be turned into your hypothesis, or you expect something. You expect as acid rain has happened, or it has rained with acid somewhere in your place, and as you came to know that incidence, you expect something to happen in your future. As you are aware of the concept of acid rain, you have studied that concept earlier. So whatever you expect or predict, when you form a particular statement based on those expectations, see, the statement which you are formulating, or statement which you are putting down based on your expectations or predictions, that statement can be called as hypothesis. Okay, the important thing is that it must be tested through research. Okay, it must be able to. Expectations are so many. Okay, some expectations or some predictions cannot be tested. Okay, we are having so many expectations in day-to-day life, or in our business life or professional life also. being a student of geography or being a student of research, we are having so many predictions or so many expectations. Okay, but all the expectations are not testable. All the expectations are not verifiable, isn't it? In that case, those cannot be turned into your hypothesis. Okay, in order to formulate a statement as your hypothesis, okay, as we earlier said, that a statement which is based on your expectations or predictions. Okay, you are having some expectations or predictions based on your prima facie knowledge of that particular topic which you have formulated or you have defined. Okay, based on that your prima facie knowledge or your background knowledge, you are having some expectations, you are having some predictions. Okay, uh, if you write down a statement which can be verified through various methods, data collection and statistical methods, which can be verified through, that statement can be turned as your hypothesis. Okay, it is a tentative statement. Hypothesis is a tentative statement about the relationship between two and more variables. It is again important. We can say that in order to test the hypothesis, that statement must be able to based on relationship between variables. Okay, what is variable? Variable is not in a mathematical or statistical language, but in a simple or general language. Variable is something which varies with something, which varies. Okay, change. Vary means change. Something which varies with something can be called as variable, isn't it? For example, income is a variable, isn't it? Income changes with time, income changes with activities. Okay, again, education can be a variable, education level can be a variable, education level change with the studies. Okay, year of schooling, isn't it? That can be variable. So many variable are there. In your field of your geography, rain, amount of raining in a particular area can be a variable, isn't it? Again, for level of forestation can be a variable. Variable is something which varies. Vary means to change. That is a particular idea, we can say, particular idea which goes on varying, which goes on changing with any other thing. Okay, that can be called as a variable. While formulating hypothesis, you should be able to find out some variables in your study, and after finding out such variables, you should try to establish a relationship between those variables, and the statement or the sentence which you are making on the relationship of those variables can be hypothesis for your research. Okay, so while formulating hypothesis, initially you must be able to keep in mind that you should keep in mind that that is a statement. Initially it is a statement. Okay, that statement is based on your expectations or predictions. We expect something for something. Okay, such expectations, if those expectations are in the field of your study, those statement related to those expectations or predictions can be turned into hypothesis. Okay, again, you must be able to research, test it. Okay, then again, it is a tentative statement. Why tentative? It is a tentative because you are going to verify it and correct it at the end of the research. The research process is a process of verifying the research statements. Research process is the process of verifying the research statements. Means research process is the process of verifying the hypothesis. Okay, hypothesis is a tentative statement, not a perfect one, not a grounded one, not a complete one. It is a tentative statement. Okay, tentative statement, what is tentative statement? Tentative statement is a statement made for time being, Okay, so that statement you are going to verify at the end of the research. That's why it is a tentative statement. It is not necessary that those expectations or predictions which you are putting in the form of hypothesis, those must be grounded. That is not necessary. Okay, that is a tentative statement. You are, after verifying it, you are putting it as your conclusions. So initially it is a very verifiable statement, okay, about relationship between two and more variables. Okay, what happens many times we put the put down or pen down the hypothesis in the form of a statement, but those statements are not, we are not able to define relationship between variables. If your statement is not going to establish any relationship between different variables, in that case you will not be able to test your hypothesis. Okay, so for testing the hypothesis, you should be able to formulate your hypothesis in the form of a statement which is the relationship between two or more variables. Okay, once it is establishing the relationship or seeking relationship, you can easily test that hypothesis. Okay, again, it is a introduces a research question and proposes an expected result. Okay, it proposes expected result. Okay, as we have seen earlier, initially it is a predictive statement or expectations based statement. So it can be in the form of expected. What do you expect from your research? Okay, as initially you have narrowed down your research topic, and you are thinking that you are now thinking to formulate your hypothesis. You are expecting some results. Okay, you have some predictions, you have some expectations.
Zaki sir, your voice is not coming.
आवाज बंद झाला त्यांचा.
हो हो, कदाचित नेटवर्क गेले की काय कर.
So you expect that in near future this is going to happen. Okay, so in that case the expected results are there in your mind. So research hypothesis can be in the form of expected or proposed expected results. Okay, it must be a testable statement, that is most important. And for being it testable, you should write down your hypothesis in the form of relationship between two or more variables. Again, something that you can support or falsify with observable evidence. Okay, that is the meaning of testability. Okay, you must be able to test that statement, or that statement must be testable. It means that you must be able to either support or falsify that statement with observable evidence. Okay, as you are formulating hypothesis, in coming future you are going to collect the data to support or falsify or reject that statement. Okay, so this while formulating hypothesis, you should keep into mind that you must be able to, you are going to collect the data based on that hypothesis you have formulated, and that after researching that data, okay, you are going to either support that statement or falsify that statement, and you are going to draw your conclusions. So that hypothesis is going to show you the direction of data collection, analysis, and conclusion. So I said that at the beginning, hypothesis is the point where the light of research is going to start. It is like a torch. Hypothesis is like a torch. Okay, hypothesis play the role of a torch in darkness of the knowledge of that particular area, isn't it? As that particular area, as you are trying to know something more in that particular area, you are filling research gap in that particular area. So you are using your torch, and that torch is hypothesis. Hypothesis will show in future what data you need to collect, how to collect that data, okay, how to analyze that data, okay, and how to test the hypothesis again, and how to draw your conclusions and how to generalize your hypothesis or generalize your conclusions, isn't it? So it is like a torch. Once you have clearly defined your hypothesis, you are having your torch in the area of research, in that particular area of research. Okay. Or once you are having the your torch, you can now walk towards your research journey. Okay. You can try to go ahead in your research journey. So hypothesis formulation is an important procedure in the field of research, as I said earlier. The formulation of hypothesis, the procedure of formulating hypothesis need to be followed in a scientific manner. Okay, there are some steps you need to follow. Okay, first of all, you need to state the problem that you are trying to solve. Okay, that we have already seen. Initially, you need to try to state the problem. Okay, that statement, when you are initially you are going to define your broad area, isn't it? Your broad area. After defining your broad area, you are going to after reviving the enough literature. Okay, after studying the enough literature in that particular field, you are going to narrow down that into a particular statement, isn't it? Or in a particular subtopic. Once you are narrowed down, after that you are going to write down your hypothesis. Okay, so before hypothesis, formulating your hypothesis or your statement of statement to be tested, you need to state your problem which you are trying to resolve. Okay, that we have already seen. Again, try to write the hypothesis as an if statement. Okay, it is not necessary, it is not the condition actually to writing down the hypothesis. Okay, once you narrowed down your research topic, you have formed your objectives of research. After forming the objectives of research, you are going to write down your hypothesis. Okay, in objectives objectives which you have defined earlier. Okay, those objectives give you the idea what kind of hypothesis you need to formulate, isn't it? So those objective will direct you towards hypothesis. Okay, in that case you need to try to write down hypothesis. Okay, as we have seen earlier that it is better to write down hypothesis in the explaining or establishing relationship between two or more variables. Okay, so in that case you can write down the statement in if then like statement, or your hypothesis can be in the form of question also, or your hypothesis in the form of simple statement also. Okay, but if you try to write down hypothesis in the form of if then statement, it will give you clear idea about the hypothesis you are going to form. Okay, it will make if you try to write down your first, see, as you are trying to write down the hypothesis. Okay, first what you have to do, you should try to whatever that predictive statement you are making, you should try to write down in if then like statement. If this happen, this will happen. Okay, if there was acid rain in that area, okay, in near future there will be so and so a particular animal, particular living things going to vanish and something like that. So once you try to write down that statement in if then format, it will give you the exact or clear, it will bring the clear idea of hypothesis, okay, for you. Okay, so try to write out initially if then, and then afterwards you can turn that statement into a simple statement or a question, like a question. You can write down a question also in the form of question also. So hypothesis can be also write down in the form of question also. Okay, and once you write down that statement in the form of if then or in the form of simple statements defining two variables, Okay, two or more variables, or relationship between two or more variables, or in the form of question. Okay, after that, following that, you should define the variables in your hypothesis. Okay, you need to define your variables. Okay, as I said earlier, you are going to put down a statement establishing the relationship between two or more variables. For time being, we will consider only two variables. Okay, for simplicity, we will consider two variables. Okay, in that two variables, you should be able to identify, define variables as independent variable and dependent variable, so that you will be able to test the hypothesis. Okay, you need to define the variables in the independent variables and dependent variables. Independent variable means independent variables, those are manipulated, controlled, or changed. Okay, the variables which are not depend on anything, those variables you are going to manipulate, you are going to control as a researcher, or you are going to change. The variables within the area of research are not going to change those variables. You are going to change those variables. Such variables are called as independent variables. And dependent variables are influenced by the change in independent variables. Okay, dependent variables are influenced by the change in independent variables. Okay, the dependent variables are those variables, those are influenced by change in, once you make change in independent variables, those affect the dependent variables. Okay, so independent variables are those variables, those you can only change for the sake of your research. Okay, for the sake of your desired results. Okay, you can change. The another variables in the research process or research that format are not going to change those variables. Those are independent variables. And dependent variables are influenced by the change in independent variables. Independent variables going to change to dependent variables. We'll see some sentences so that you will have a clear idea about dependent variables and independent variables. Okay, we will see first the sentences, some hypotheses, and we will then go for precautions. Okay, here are some hypotheses I have put for you. Okay, see first, these are hypotheses are from the varieties of areas. Okay, as I don't have a background of economy, geography, I have formulated these hypotheses from general area. Okay, so that you can understand it better. Okay, here is the first hypothesis: students who eat breakfast will perform better in an exam than students who do not eat breakfast. Okay, here student who eats breakfast perform better in an exam. Okay, student who eats breakfast is a independent variable, isn't it? And performance in exam is a dependent variable. This depends upon this statement, which we are calling as a hypothesis. This predicts that students who eats breakfast, a student who eats breakfast is going to perform better in an exam. Okay, that is the prediction. It is a predictive statement. Hypothesis is a predictive statement, isn't it? It is predicting something. What is predicting? It is predicting the performance of a student in exam. Okay, what predicting? Students who eats breakfast, that they eating the breakfast, the procedure of eating breakfast. So this is an independent variable and this is a dependent variable. Okay, again, motorists who talk on the phone while driving will be more likely to make errors while driving than those who do not talk on phone. Okay, motorists who talk on the phone while driving, will more likely to make errors while driving. Talk on phone while driving is an independent variable. Okay, it is independent. It cannot be influenced by the another variable. These are the two variables. Okay, errors while driving, that is a one variable, and you can say length of talk on the phone, or the incidences of talk on the phone while driving, that is another variable. Okay, that is another variable. So errors while driving or talk on the phone while driving, these are the two variables. Talk on the phone while driving is the independent, and errors while driving is a dependent variable. Okay, Patil sir.
हाँ sir.
Yeah, why I called? Let me know. Okay, the situation of internet. That's why only. Okay.
Yeah.
How much time I am having? 15 minutes.
You have 15 minutes, sir. 15 minutes.
Okay. Okay. Another example is that the greater number of coal plants in the region increases water pollution. Okay, this is a plain statement. Okay, if you try to write down the statement of research or hypothesis in if and then format, and then you can try to put it in simple words or in another form, so that you can be able to formulate a good hypothesis. Okay, so initially, if you try to find out if the statement like if the number of coal plants increases, then the water pollution of that area also increases. Once you try to find out this like statement, again in that case, you will be able to put up your hypothesis in the simple form. Okay, your hypothesis can be put in if then form also. Okay, that is not the problem. Okay, why I'm tracing you to form the statement in if and then form is for that you should be able to find out the relation between variables. Okay, that is the reason why I'm stressing out. Okay, the greater number of coal plants in the region increases water pollution. That is another one hypothesis. Okay, here number of coal plants, increasing number of coal plants or number of coal plants is independent variable, and increased water pollution is a dependent variable. When this is increased, this increases. When this is reduced, this reduces. Okay, so it is independent and this is dependent variable. Okay, another one is there. What is the effect of particular diet on blood sugar levels? Okay, this hypothesis is put in the question form. Okay, particular diet affects blood sugar levels of a person. This can be a simple statement. Okay, so particular diet is an independent variable here, and blood sugar level is a dependent variable here. Okay, we will see the precautions which we need to consider while formulating a particular hypothesis. First thing is that you must be able to that statement must be testable statement. Once you put two or more once you are able to identify two or more variable with that statement, that half of the battle you have won in formulating hypothesis. As you are able to identify the variables in your statement or hypothesis, two or more variables you are able to identify in that hypothesis, it means that you have formulated testable hypothesis. Okay, so that hypothesis must be testable statement. Okay, again it must be simple statement. Okay, simple statement means it must be easily understandable. You should not use jargons or complicated concepts to write down the hypothesis statement. Okay, go for simple words. Go with simple words. Okay, so that laymen can understand what you want to say, what you want to elaborate, what you want to focus upon, isn't it? So try to put it in simple words, so that anyone can understand it. Okay, why it is so? Simple words can narrow down the idea which you have to go for in your research, or you have to follow in your research. Okay, simplicity can easily direct you your what can we say, a defined research area that can propel you towards defined research area. If you put the statement or hypothesis with jargons or complicated words, complicated concepts, in that case, those concepts will um, create a dilemma or dilemma in your mind while testing the hypothesis, isn't it? So the statement should be simple. That statement should be logical. It should not be. It should not be illogical statement. Okay, it should not be illogical statement, isn't it? What it means? Logical statement means it should be validate the earlier knowledge of that area. Okay, it should not invalidate the whole knowledge of that area, isn't it? It should validate. It should be validating the, or it should be based upon the whatever available knowledge is there, which has gone through test and retest. That knowledge must be able to provide background for that statement. Okay, so that must be logical. Okay, when we think, it must be logical. It must be clearly stated. It must be, there should not be any ambiguity in that statement. It should be a very much clear statement you should be able to write as your hypothesis. Okay, you should avoid the ambiguity while writing. Once the statement, if the statement is not clear, suppose what I have said, I have told you that the hypothesis is a torch. You are heading towards in the black outside. You are taking a torch in your hand and going towards a particular black area, or in a black area, isn't it? In that case, your torch must be show you the light to go ahead. Okay, so if the statement is clearly defined, stated, in that case, that your torch will help you to proceed further. Okay, it should be specific and precise. Should be precise and precise. You should make precise statement, not vague statement. Okay, vague statement means in the statements here, suppose the greater number of coal plants in the region increase water pollution. You should not say in vague like the greater as the coal plant increases, or the water of the whole world goes on polluted or goes on polluting, something like that. You should not. You should be specific. The greater number of coal plants in the area, okay, in the area where the coal plants are situated, suppose a particular district increases water pollution in that particular area. The statement should be specific like that, isn't it? Statement must be specific like that. Okay, that should not be general statement. Again, specify variables between which the relationship is established. It includes variables. Okay, and it must be, or it should be able to define some kind of relationship between or among those variables. Okay, and again, it must be or it should be amenable to testing within a reasonable time. We all are having reasonable times. We don't have a unlimited time available. Okay, so whatever reasonable time available with you, okay, in that reasonable time, you should be able to test that hypothesis, isn't it? So these are the precautions you must consider while writing down the hypothesis statement. Okay, we'll see the types of hypothesis. There are so many types of hypothesis. Okay, simple hypothesis, complex hypothesis, directional, non-directional, causal, and so on. So many. The two important hypotheses are there, which are important for the procedure of hypothesis testing. And those types are null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. We will now see what is null hypothesis and what is alternative hypothesis. Okay, those are the two important types of hypothesis. Okay, what is null hypothesis? A null hypothesis is, okay, we'll see. First, we will see what is null hypothesis and what is alternative hypothesis. Okay. Alternative hypothesis, which is the statement you have already defined. Okay. Which is based on your prima facie knowledge, isn't it? These are the hypotheses which are based on our prima facie knowledge or primary knowledge of the particular topic, okay, or that particular area. Okay. For example, students who eat breakfast will perform better in an exam than students who do not eat breakfast. Okay. We initially know about the early morning breakfast and its effect on the sugar level and importance of sugar for the working of brain. We all know all these things. Okay. So once brain gets its fuel, it can work better, and it can, a student or person can perform better in examination. That is a prima facie knowledge. That is not a grounded knowledge, but that is a prima facie knowledge or initial knowledge which we are having in that particular area. Based on that, we have formed this topic, or sorry, is this hypothesis. This is our alternative hypothesis. Okay. Alternative hypothesis is the hypothesis which is predictive statement. Okay. The predictive statement which you are formulating initially, that predictive statement is a alternative hypothesis for you. Okay. And what is null hypothesis? We based on alternative hypothesis, we should formulate now null hypothesis. You can formulate any hypothesis. You have to formulate two hypotheses, alternate and null. You can formulate any hypothesis at any time, isn't it? It is not necessary that you should form null hypothesis first and alternative hypothesis afterwards. That is not the things. Okay. But it is advisable that you should formulate alternative hypothesis first. Okay, you should formulate alternative hypothesis first, because that alternative hypothesis is based on your prima facie knowledge. Okay, and then you should go for null hypothesis. Okay, in null hypothesis, you are going to formulate a statement in negative manner. See, there are two hypotheses. Null hypothesis, which is denoted by 0, okay, and alternative hypothesis, which is denoted by HA. Okay, these are two hypotheses. You are going to find, if you it will be advice for you that you should formulate alternative hypothesis first. Once you have formulated alternative hypothesis, then you should go for null hypothesis. And while formulating null hypothesis, you should formulate your alternative hypothesis in negative manner. Okay, by using the word no, not, likewise, never, likewise. You can use the words like no, never, not, like. Okay, and by putting those words, you can put that hypothesis into negative manner or negative form. That will be your alternative hypothesis. And alternative that will be your null hypothesis. Okay, null means 0. That will be your null hypothesis. And you are going to test null hypothesis, not the alternative one. You are not going to test alternative hypothesis. Keep in mind that you are going to test null hypothesis. You need to test null hypothesis. You are using the hypothesis for testing, that is null hypothesis only. Okay, and that should be or not must be, but advisable. It is advisory. That should be write down in the form of negative statement. For example, here, student who eat breakfast in the morning will not perform better in an exam. That is in the negative manner. Why in the negative manner? Because we are going to use null hypothesis for testing. We are testing null hypothesis, not alternative. Okay, and for testing, we should be more precise. And once we put a thing or statement in negative manner, we become more precise. Okay, when you put that student who do not eat breakfast will not, student who eat breakfast will not perform better in an exam. When you put the statement like this, negative, like the negative statement as a your null hypothesis, you have to test only that the breakfast has a any breakfast or eating breakfast has any impact or any effect on the performance of students. You need not to test it as a positive impact or negative performance. Okay, here just you are going to test the impact of eating breakfast. So if you put the statement in no with adding no with this, it become null hypothesis. Okay, again I am saying that it is advisable to put no, not this statement is not obligatory statement. Okay, so if you put no here or never not like statement here, so in that case what will happen, you will be able to test it easily. Okay, because it will narrow down the focus, and once focus is narrowed down, you are able to conclude in very what we can say, very perfect or in the right words. Okay, so this is the you should be able to form the hypothesis in null and alternative form. Okay, so we'll go towards the hypothesis testing procedure. Okay, there are some steps. Okay, first step is state your research hypothesis in null as a null and alternative one. Okay, as I told you, alternative hypothesis is the statement based on your apprehension. Okay, your experience, your predictions. Okay, that will be your alternative hypothesis HA, and null hypothesis is the negative statement. Okay, then collect data in a way designed to test the hypothesis. That's the second statement. Once you have formulated hypothesis, you should go for data collection. Your hypothesis will tell what data you need to collect. Okay, the data which the hypothesis which you have put for in that format, that hypothesis will tell what data you need. Okay, in our statement, in this statement here, if we are considering the first statement, in that case we need to collect how many students eat breakfast regularly or on the day of exam, and what is their performance in that particular exam. That data we require. Okay, where it came from? It came from the hypothesis. Hypothesis told us that we need to test, we need to collect this data based on these two variables. Okay, after collecting this data, we can analyze and we can go for refuting the hypothesis or accepting the hypothesis, whatever the thing may be. Okay, so hypothesis will tell you what data you need to collect. Okay, then you have to perform some appropriate, you need to use some appropriate statistical test. Okay, by using appropriate statistical test, you can verify your hypothesis, then decide whether the hypothesis is supported or refuted. You could go for your decision. Okay, what you are going to do, that you are going to accept that hypothesis, what your statistical result of that statistical test are suggesting you, to accept the hypothesis or rejecting the hypothesis. Okay, that you have to decide, and at the last one you have to generalize the statement, isn't it? We'll within the next 5 or 6 minutes we will see the process one. Okay, with some examples. First step, state your research hypothesis as null and alternative. As I said, initial hypothesis, once we have formulated initial hypothesis, that is a predictive statement, we should restate that in the form of null and alternative. So we have to that initial hypothesis statement we have to restate or rewrite in the form of null hypothesis and again alternative hypothesis. Okay, for example, our initial research hypothesis was student who eat breakfast will perform better in an exam. Okay, null hypothesis will, there is no relation between eating breakfast. That can be null hypothesis which to be tested. That is, there is no relation between eating breakfast by students and their performance in the examination. That will be null hypothesis which we are going to test. And alternative hypothesis will be students who eat breakfast will perform better in an exam. than students who do not eat breakfast. The statement which have initially developed with our earlier predictions, okay, that statement can be your alternative hypothesis, or you can also rewrite. Okay, like student who eat breakfast perform well in the examination, something like that. You can rewrite the statement, or you can put that statement based on your predictions. You can put that statement as an alternative hypothesis. Okay, so as I have told you, we have to formulate null hypothesis. Okay, and null hypothesis is the hypothesis which we are going to test. None, we are not going to test alternative hypothesis. Okay, the second step of the hypothesis testing is collect data in a way designed to test the hypothesis. Okay, variables in the hypothesis will suggest that data you need to collect. What data you need to collect, in which manner, that hypothesis will tell you. Okay, then perform an appropriate statistical test. Okay, while performing an appropriate statistical test, this is the technical area. You need to be well versed with it, and we need to get more ground level knowledge in this area. Okay, while performing an appropriate statistical test, first you need to set an criteria for decision. That is, we call it in the language of research, that is level of significance. Okay, typically level of significance is formed in the form of or as a 5% or 1% or 3%. Okay, that is a usual practice to consider as a level of significance. Level of significance is a rule of decision, as it is said, where your sample mean whether falls in the rejection area or in acceptance area. Okay, so you have to consider level of significance first. Okay, then you should go for choice of statistical test. There are so many statistical tests available in the area of research. So many statistical tests are there. Those are parametric and non-parametric. Okay, parametric tests are those tests which are used when we are predicting a population parameter with sample statistics. Okay, when we need more precision. Okay, when we need more precision, in that that time we need to use parametric test. Okay, when we need more precision, or when we can conclude with more precisely, when our sample data is normally distributed. If our sample data is normally distributed, okay, our sample data is normally distributed, in that data we can test the hypothesis using parametric test. Okay, parametric tests are more we can say more precise or more perfect to bring out the results. But for that purpose, we need our sample to be normally distributed. And in social sciences and where we collect the primary data, it is very difficult to get this normal distribution. Okay, as we said, Gaussian distribution. Okay, it is very difficult. And wherever we get distribution, not when we are not knowing the distribution, or we are having the skewed distribution, negatively skewed or positively skewed, in that case we should use non-parametric test. If you search for on the internet for various tests, you will find so many tests. For parametric, there are t-test, paired and unpaired, ANOVA, okay, repeated, two-way, non-repeated, three-way, linear regression, rank correlation. So many tests are there, which are parametric tests in nature. There again, chi-squared, Fisher, exact test, Wilkins. So many tests are there which are non-parametric tests. When you are using those tests when you are having skewed distribution in your sample. Okay, if you are having normal distribution, you can go for parametric test. If you are having a skewed distribution, you can go for non-parametric test. There are so many things are there. By using those things, you can decide which test to be applied. Okay, and at the end you have to run the test. Okay, running the test is not nowadays a difficult task. So many softwares are there, you don't need to calculate anything. So many softwares are there, SPSS is there. Even by using Microsoft Excel, you can run some non-parametric tests also. Some parametric tests are also there, you can run. So running a test is not a nowadays difficult task. You can do it. And then after running a test, results will tell you whether the null hypothesis is supported or refuted. Your sample statistics or sample mean or sample statistics fall within the rejection area. Suppose this is your normal distribution. Suppose you are using the t-test and this is your normal t distribution, and you have using one tail test. There are two one tail test or two tail test. Okay, if you are using two tail test, in that case these two tails of that distribution, normal distribution, will give you the rejection area. If you are using the one tail test, then only one single side will give you the rejection area. Okay, for example, in our example, there is no relation between eating breakfast and performance. Performance in the examination is defined at a certain level of marks defined above the certain level marks obtained by students, isn't it? Suppose 60% above students, above marks are obtained in the examination, it is a good performance. Suppose we are supposing that. In that case, we should use one tail test. Okay, because we are using only above 60% level marks as a good performance in the examination. But suppose sometimes the statements are suggesting two tail test. When we are using the two tail test, it means that lower limit and upper limit, we have to rejection area at the upper limit and lower limit. In that case, you have to use two tail test. The statistics which are derived from the statistical test which run through the a particular software, that results will give you the particular statistical statistic. Okay, that statistics, if that statistic fails in this area, okay, rejection area, in that case your null hypothesis is rejected. If falls in the this is the acceptance area. If falls in the acceptance area, it means that you are going to accept your hypothesis. Okay, once you have if you are going to, and what you are going to do, you are going to reject the null hypothesis or accept the null hypothesis. You are not going to do anything with your alternative hypothesis. Okay, so you are going to reject the null hypothesis or accept the hypothesis. And while writing down the statement of rejection or acceptance, it is a what can we say? It should be in the manner that if you are rejecting the null hypothesis, we can write the statement like that. We are failed to accept the hypothesis. We are failed to accept the null hypothesis, or it is better to say rejection than fail to acceptance. Okay, the statements you should write, or it is better to write in the form as we are failed to accept the null hypothesis. Okay, because the statistical data which we have collected through our primary sources or any other sources, that data is not sufficient to accept the hypothesis. Okay, it means that any other researcher can increase the volume of the data and may be able to accept the hypothesis, the same hypothesis, for at any other level or any other broad level of data. So it is better to write that statement in the manner that we are failed to accept or reject the hypothesis. Okay, and again generalization. There is time is running, but generalization means what happens in many of these studies, or most of the 99.99% studies. What we do, we draw the sample from the population, and we collect the data from the sample and collect the inferences, or collect the or derive the conclusions from the statistics. Okay, and those conclusions we are going to again put up for the population. The putting the conclusions based on our sample to the population is called a generalization. Okay, as we have derived our conclusions from our sample. Okay, and this is the population. Okay, this is the whole population of our research. Okay, we have derived this sample, and based on sample we have made the conclusion. To apply the conclusion for the population, applying the conclusion for the population is called a generalization. Okay, so I think I have taken more time than prescribed by the Patil sir. So thank you very much, Patil sir, and all the participants for bearing me with 1.5 hours almost. If there is any query or question, we can put or we can take within a minute, if there is. Patil sir.
Thank you, Zaki sir. It was really wonderful experience to listen for almost 1 hour and 45 minutes. Really, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to you for such a enjoyable and resourceful deliberations related to problem identification, hypothesis testing, and followed by the generalization. It was not a bearing, it was gaining of the knowledge. On behalf of organizing committee, I'm very happy to put on record that you contributed a lot and you assisted and enlightened the participants. Now, I request to all the participants, if you have any queries, any doubt, or you require any further clarification, you may ask few questions only, please. There are, why do we only test null hypothesis? Why don't we test alternative hypothesis? This is one question, Zaki sir.
Okay. The alternative hypothesis is based on our predictions. Okay. Most of the time it is a positive statement. And a scope of positive statement is so wide. So in order to test, we need to narrow down the scope of the statement, and that null hypothesis can only narrow down the statement. As we put the statement into negative manner, its scopes is narrowed down, and that's why we can go for the precise conclusions with the help of that. So usually it is a practice that null hypothesis is tested, not alternative one.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dear participants, it was really delightful session, and if you interested in quality of the research, at that time quality of the hypothesis is required, especially in descriptive research, diagnostic research. There are various types of research, and in descriptive and diagnostic research, or even in experimental research, hypothesis is required, and through hypothesis you can reach to the generalization, and that generalization can be applied throughout the world based on certain assumptions that may be set by the researcher. With this concluding remark, or I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Mandar Zaki sir for enlightening the participants for more than 1.5 hours. Sir, thank you very much on behalf of all the organizing committee, all the organizing colleges, and all the participants. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very
Thank
much,
you.
sir.
Thank you. There is little announcement for all the participants. A recorded version of this lecture will be made available through YouTube channel, and that will be shared on Google Classroom as well as in the group. Okay. So we will meet tomorrow at 4 p.m. Tomorrow, Dr. Ramrajan Mane Deshmukh is going to enlighten the participants. Thank you. Thank you.